This is our smart valve. This is actually a 7001 model that does only flow proportional. And when I say flow proportional, all that means is when the water flow increases, this valve knows to make an adjustment to keep your residual values consistent. And then when the water flow decreases, it knows to close down enough to maintain that residual no matter what that water flow is doing. And that's it. In essence, that's all this valve will do. Now, a couple things here. This is what we've referred to as a 7500 remote meter panel. We have designed this, and as far as I know, I think we're the only ones that really have this ability. This top elbow and this side plug, the way it's positioned right now, makes this set to what's called automatic, which means the valve is totally controlling what happens in this tube. So, again, getting back to the water flow, if the water flow increases or decreases, then it will show up on here the change that the valve has made based on the flow. And so, for example, if it goes from 10 pounds to 20 pounds, it should be that on this valve also. It should read out the same as what this ball is floating. Power goes out, or you have a power surge, and for whatever reason the valve is not working, has been burnt, so to speak, then you can take this 90-degree fitting here and change these two. Put this on top, that's the plug, and put this on the side. Now you've gone back to what we call a manual system, and this will work. This will now be an adjustment. You can actually adjust, you're bypassing the valve. The valve is no longer controlling this 7500. Now, if this valve has been in service for a long time, this could be a little stiff. And those O-rings in there, if you try to do too much too quick, you could strip those O-rings. Just something for you to remember. It's one of those things that you don't think about, but I see periodically when I'm talking to people about their issues. And again, this is the only what we call 7500 that is able to be made manual or automatic. Okay, so with that in mind, this side right here, this box right here is your incoming 4 to 20 milliamp signal from your flow meter, which is upstream. And this side is all your relays and your power source coming in to the valve itself. When I'm talking to guys on the phone about issues they may be having, I always refer to this part of the smart valve as the barrel, because if you look close, there is a white valve plug that runs up and down. This valve plug extends down into this barrel, and based on the flow of the water and the demand that the valve is receiving, this will move up and down as the water flows change, which is normal. So, but what can happen sometimes is you might get a little greenish crust around here. That's kind of normal. It's the nature of the beast. Some guys think it's leaking. Well, it's not leaking, because every time this comes up and goes back down, it draws a little chlorine with it. When it hits the air, it turns green, and that's why you're seeing that. Okay, that's kind of normal. When the valve is closed and not operating, this pin here should be right on that white line, and when you're at max, this should be right here on this top mark. All of your vacuum occurs right here, and of course this comes from this fitting right here, comes into the side feeding the valve, and then this right here goes over to your ejector after the valve makes its adjustments. Some things not to do. When this valve is set to automatic, because it has two basic functions, either automatic or manual. If you run it manual, then you're going to use this manually. And when it's an automatic, this will not work. We rendered that useless because the valve is controlling everything. But when it is in auto, there is a thumb wheel down here, right here. You'll be able to, you have to look close to see it. But if you move that thumb wheel, when it's in automatic, you will change the voltage settings for each set point in the valve itself. And when you do that, you alter the ability of the valve to really function correctly. So when we send these out, it comes with a pink, bright pink, I think they are, sheet of paper that tells you not to do that. I would say pay attention to that, because if you do that and it's automatic, you change the voltage, then this valve is not going to open at the correct amount of voltage as it should when it's making its adjustments. And that means, usually that means it has to come back to us so I can set what's called mechanical zero. Because if that voltage gets changed inadvertently, then you can never linearize it. This will never match this, as far as this ball floating and this valve reading out the same thing. That's what we call linearization of the valve. They're working in conjunction with each other as they should.
So what we're going to do in this video is try to solve a problem where an end user has driven the 0-point voltage up out of range to where it's supposed to be. The normal range is between 0.41 and 0.49, and the end user in this case has driven it up to about 0.98 volts. So we're going to, the last two buttons on the right hand side, we're going to hit those at the same time. Okay, we're going to go up to cal valve. We're going to hit adjust, and as you can see, the end user has driven this up to 0.98 volts at 0 pounds per day, and that's out of range and incorrect. And they probably did it by turning this knob, and that's something that you don't want to do. There's no reason that the end user should have to turn that knob. Okay, so we're going to hit adjust. We're going to drive it down to the right, turn it to the right. As you can see, the voltage is going down. And then we're going to lock it in at 0.44 volts, which is how we send it out from the factory. You're going to make sure you hit enter. Then you're going to hit escape. Hit escape again. It's going to ask you enter new password. You're going to say no. And then this is important, you're going to save changes. So you're going to hit yes. And so we see it's back to 0 pounds per day. And so we've solved that problem.
Once you get this set and get it linearized, it should run itself. It should do exactly what we designed it to do, and that is to manage the water flow automatically so that your residual remains pretty constant through all the varying flows that you might see when you use this valve.